Hey YouTube, this is Jules. I have a card I want to share with you guys. This is a card that I made for my dad for his birthday, and it's a 6x6 that I used just cardstock and a couple of sheets from Maja Design, and I try to keep it as masculine as possible, and I think I got that. So what I did is I used some American Craft cardstock, which is like my favorite cardstock ever. This cardstock, I don't know if you could tell in the video here. Here you go. There's some texture on this cardstock, and there is a front and a back side. I used some white, and then I used some gray. There's a few different shades of gray, and I don't know which shade this is, but this is some of the gray cardstock that I used. Let's see if it'll focus. There we are. And some of the white, and I happened to have this just sitting around, and it was just enough to make my 6x6 card. And the Maja Design paper I used, actually I used 3 different kinds. Yeah, 3 different kinds. This one here has some letters and some vintage script and polka dots, a few different layers of different designs on it. And so it's got a couple different tones of blue, actually 3 different tones of blue. And on the back side is kind of the same thing, except that it's got the books on it. So it's got all the letters like it does on this side. And it's kind of a dark charcoal gray color, and it's from the Creadim collection. And what I did is I grabbed this sheet here, I grabbed this one here with the clocks. The back side has the Roman numerals on it, and then I used this sheet that is it's a darker shade of blue than what's on this one here. It's a little bit darker, and it's got script and stuff on it. And the back side has this checkered or plaid or whatever. So really easy to do. The only inking that I did was the faux stitching and the stamp. All I did was distress the edges. I cut 3 different sizes for the background. So I did the gray, a print, and then the blue. Then I did 2 of this one here, and then 3 of this one, the banner part here. And the circle is from the inside of the Tim Holtz die. I think it's a tattered clock or something like that. So I just die cut that out. Added some drywall repair tape, just in little bits and pieces, just so you can see the glimmer of it, because it's very soft white. See that there, and right here. Some ribbon and 3 layers of the inside part of the clock. I just basically traced the inside and did a larger size, and then a white cardstock. Used the handles, and then some Finnebar vintage trinkets, brads, just to make it more masculine, and then for the center part. Excuse Charlie, she's just being a pill. And then some leftover chipboard chicken wire that I had already sitting out for a project that I'm working on. So this is some leftover. And that's basically it. And on the inside I used some of the paper just to kind of give it a base. And this is very, since there's so many layers of paper on the top, it's very top heavy. So I needed to kind of try and balance some of that out. And what I have here is the print, and then I have some plain cardstock that after everybody writes on it what they already did, I'm just going to glue it down on the inside, and then it's done. So there will be pictures on my blog so you guys can see the details of it. And so anyways, just wanted to share that with you guys. And yeah, off to birthday dinner with Dad. Thanks guys for watching. I'll talk to you later. Here we're going to start with the Tim Holtz clock die, and I'm just going to cut that shape out on white cardstock. This is American Craft cardstock. It's pretty much all I use. I'm going to use some StazOn jet black ink and stamp my sentiment on there. So here's my chicken wire die cut that I got from Want to Scrap. I'm just going to gesso both sides of it in white. Get a nice coverage. I just wanted I don't want the brown, so I wanted it to match with the card. So I'm going to use a card base of 6x12, just scoring it at the 6-inch mark and folding it in half for an even 6x6 size card. And I've pre-cut all of my papers from the Maja collection, from the Creadim collection, and I'm using some that has that gray tone, white tone, and one that has some blue in it, and some gray cardstock. So I did some stitch marks, and I distressed all the edges. I did stitching, not faux stitching this time. I did do real stitches for this card. I'm going to make it a little bit more feminine, I guess, or a little bit more softer. So that blue base or the blue bottom sheet is from the collection. I like that plaid too, that side there. It's very pretty, but I wanted to have more of the solid blue showing, so that's why I used that side for the card. And this is 4 layers. There's like 3 pieces of the designer paper and then that gray cardstock. And you can see I stitched it there. Actually, I stitched all those 3 pieces together. And then I decided, you know what, I think I want another white piece. So I ended up adding that piece there. And there is gray cardstock in a rectangular shape with some designer paper. I did stitch those 2 together as well, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that way it's only 1 stitch mark and it's still stuck together. I don't have to glue another piece of paper together. So I'm just going to distress the edges of the die cut around the sentiment, and I think I already did the one for the clock. I did stitch around the sentiment with some white thread on my sewing machine, and I'm going to sit it between, or sit it on top of this gray cardstock just to kind of help it pop up. And I'm going to use the little hands too for the clock. And here are the little hands, and I'm going to use some brads from Prima that is from, I think, the Sunrise Sunset collection that Anna Dabrowska designed. And I did want to add them to all 4 corners of the card and I forgot, but you'll see how I added here since I didn't adhere them from corner to corner. So I'm going to add some dimensional foam squares to the back of the sentiment, add the brad, and it's still going to be separated by it's not going to be totally flat because of course I've got the dimensional stickers, but I had the brad there because I do want to stick that together. So I have to be careful not to press too hard, otherwise it'll be sunken in the center. And have room there for the clock hands to show. So there I'm adding in the brads because I forgot to add them in before I stuck it down. Luckily I didn't adhere the corners very well, so it was easy to pull up and poke a hole and put the brads in, and now I put glue down. So I'm going to use some glossy accents and just add that to the outside rim of the clock so I can glue that down. And you know what, this glue is very like watery, but it dries pretty fast. Here's some mesh like ribbon. It's too wide, so I'm going to just slice it in half there to make my ribbon about a 1-inch width, and then tie it on that base part there so I can make a bow. And this is what's going to make it softer. On my dad's card, I did use a dark gray velvety ribbon and, you know, kept it a little bit more masculine that way. So this way it'll soften it up just a tad. I still have to push it over just a little so that I can fit my clock on there, so I have to scoot it over to the edge as much as I can. So I'm going to fishtail the ends of the bow here so that it has, you know, has a nice finished look to it. So I'm going to glue this down, and using my Beacon 3-in-1. I'm loving this glue. I used to use Scotch Quick Dry all the time, and I do use it sometimes for, just depends on what I'm gluing down, but for big pieces like this, I do like to use this glue, and it takes a little minute to dry, but it doesn't ripple my paper at all, so I really like it. And it has a strong smell to it, but it doesn't bug me because I do like strong smells of glues. And here's some wall repair tape. That probably didn't sound very good, huh? Oh, goodness. So I'm just going to add little strips and bits and pieces of the tape all over the card, and this is going to give a little bit more texture and a little bit more shimmer on some areas, give it a little bit more interest. So now I'm going to stick the clock down. And you can see here I added the adhesive to one side because it's very lifted where the other 2 sections of paper is. So I used I think it was an 1/8 of an inch high dimensional sticker just to help with lifting so it doesn't sink in, because it is kind of high where those pieces are. So here I'm just going to cut up some chicken wire, the die cut, and I'm just going to add little bits and pieces here and there. I do trim it down because it just, you know, it has to just feel like that's the shape that I want and the size that I want and where I want it. So I'm just cutting pieces down. I'm okay with, you know, tucking things under. I just don't want it to, you know, some areas don't want it to be too lifted. So
Sometimes I just move things around. See, that's too many for me, so I'm gonna take that one off and move that left bottom one up to the top left. So, and that to me just seems like just enough of the chicken wire. So there's that, and this piece here. And I thought this was gonna be the end of the card, but it's not. I decided I wanted to add another little detail, and you'll see here what I do. A few years ago, Michaels was clearancing out on Martha Stewart micro beads, and I decided to grab one of every color that was there. I ended up here. I'm gonna look over there real quick. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There was 14 colors that I was able to grab. Silver was one of them, and I love these, but I don't use them enough. So I ended up using the silver because it went with the gray here and with the silver on the brads. So I really like this card. I think it's so cute. So I'm going to put both pictures of both cards over on my blog if you want to see just a detail. I'll take detailed pictures of the areas with the micro beads on it and of my dad's card, so you guys can see the difference. I think they're cute. All right, you guys, that's my card. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Jule signing out of the Jule box. Bye, everyone.